Hey, welcome to the Inner Circle podcast, where growth minded leaders come together to build better businesses and better lives. I'm your host, Hector Alvarado. Here, we don't do theory, we share real lessons, real systems, and real strategies you can use right away. This is a community for people committed to growth, impact, and supporting each other on the journey. You're in the right room, my friends. Let's get started. So welcome everybody again to the Inner Circle call, and today we're talking about Smart Scaling Diagnostic. Well, this is like, when you take your vehicle into the shop and they got to run it through a diagnostic check to ensure that they can fix the right things, right? Just similar to that concept, we need a diagnostic check for our business. And we need to know what we're looking for in order to structure and apply the right actions to fix our businesses. Because I'll start with this statement, something that might challenge how you've been taught to grow and scale your business. And this statement is that most businesses don't fail because they lack effort. They fail because growth outruns structure. And the higher you climb, the more dangerous that climb becomes because it's generally linked to more hustle, more activity versus more structure. And so today we're going to learn not motivation. This is going to be definitely not about working and grinding harder, but it will certainly be about how you scale smart. Okay, so scaling that allows you to protect your margins, scaling that strengthens your leaders, strengthens that builds a business that runs with or without you. So, depending if your goals are to scale it to keep it as for yourself or as a legacy, or to scale it to sell it, you will understand the importance of having these structural components in your business. Again, this isn't theory. This is going to help you diagnose your business in real time. And today we're going to give you some tools that you're going to be able to apply to your business as you go. So today, as you listen, this is going to be an active session today. So please grab a note, paper, grab some pens, and get ready to take down notes because we're going to ask you some questions that I'm going to need you to have some answers for and some numbers at the end of the call. Okay? So, as you listen, you will be asked to score yourself honestly. This is no ego, no fake stories that you tell yourself because you know that you do. We all do it. We pump ourselves up, right? None of that. Today will be just truth. Just truth. Because scale does not respond to your confidence. It's not going to grow because you think you're great. It will respond to clarity, discipline, alignment, and execution. That's how true and smart businesses scale with the right diagnostic check. So we're going to go through each section. I want you to scale and rate your business from 1 to 5. One meaning that this is a weak, inconsistent, or dependent on you, the owner. If you score yourself a 5, it means that this is clear, owned, repeatable, and running without you. Okay? So as we ask the questions, remember the rating again will be from 1 to 5. Okay? You can scale yourself at the very bottom. If it's a 1, it means it's weak. It's inconsistent. If it's a 5, it's clear, it's owned, it's repeatable. Does everybody understand the scaling for the questions? Just give me a thumbs up if you got it. Okay, awesome. Okay, now you'll be asked for the total at the end. Okay, now low scores don't mean failure. So this isn't a pass fail. Guys, don't worry, it's not a quiz. Okay, but what this will mean and it will tell us is leverage. The score will tell us leverage. It's going to tell us what the upside is, or it's going to tell us how well you're operating. So the first pillar, the first area that we're going to cover today is systems over motivation. So let's start with the truth of scaling. That motivation does not actually scale. It's that systems do. Why is that? Why you say, well, why, Hector? Well, I'm motivated. I'm going to push through it. Well, that's the problem. Motivation is emotional. And because it's emotional, it's inconsistent. I've never met a human that is driven, charged, happy every single day of their lives. I don't know anybody in this room, but if you're a human like me, you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have really bad days, you're gonna have okay days, and you're gonna have good days, right? We've all seen that pattern because we're humans, and we're humans, it's gonna be that way. So it depends on mood. It depends on energy, pressure, and personalities. That's why emotional frameworks don't work, right? Systems don't care how people feel. That's why systems is the way to go. They create consistent outcomes. So get ready. Here comes your first diagnostic question for you. Okay. If a key leader quit your job tomorrow, your business tomorrow, would your business still run in the same way next week? Let me ask that again. If a key leader quit tomorrow, would your business still run in the same way next week? Okay. If the answer is no, you don't have systems, you still have dependency. Okay. So that's your first question and how to answer that. Now, we're going to scale these ones from 1 to 5. Ask your, we're gonna ask yourself here, do you have documented process for core functions? Again, 1 through 5. Do you have documented processes for your core functions? Second question, are decisions made the same way every time? 1 through 5. Can new leaders step in without chaos? 1 through 5. Are problems solved systematically or emotionally? And that means that if most of this information lives in your head, please do yourself the right thing and score yourself a 1 or 2. Okay? If you have documented processes and you have them followed by the majority of your teams, then you're probably closer to a 4 or 5. Okay? Now, again, here's the opportunity that we want to teach with this, in that Ray Dalio scaled Bridgewater not by hiring hungry people alone, but by systemized thinking. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been preaching and coaching around hungry, humble, smart as key pillars, but hungry is only one component, right? So you still need hungry people, motivated people, but if these decisions that these people are working towards aren't systemized, then the leaders become the bottlenecks. Because your business still needs you, the leader, the owner, the department head, to think, decide, and fix whatever issues they're dealing with. So you still haven't built a sustainable company. You've built a high stress job. That's really what has happened. That's at that stage, if you haven't delivered on the high end of those answers. Okay, now that was question or pillar number 1. So systems are simply documented answers that help in predictable problems. So if this happens, what do you do? Who owns it? What's the standard? That's it. That's what we're looking for. When we talk about systemized processes and systems in a business, it must answer. Again, if X happens, what do we do? And everybody knows to do that. Who owns it? Who's the clear owner of this decision? It's not I got to run to Willie for every answer. It's not I got to run to Tyler for every answer. It's that Jim, Bob, Terry all know what they're accountable for, and they're able to make those decisions because they know how to do that. They've been empowered to do that, right? And you'll get a consistent response whether you talk to Jim, Tim, Bob, or Willie. They're all going to give you the similar and standard response. You're not going to get mixed messages when talking to different leaders. Okay, that's what systemization is about. Now, pillar number 2 talks about discipline over hustle. Now, let's talk about hustle. Okay, hustle feels productive, gets praised, and hides inefficiencies. Hustle's great because it's innovative, right? It means that people are moving, they're shaking, they're trying to do all these kinds of things, and because you see people doing things, organically you're going to think they're busy doing the right things. Not necessarily always the right case because hustle is based on a theory of heroics, right? And they're just look like heroes because they're constantly putting out fires. But what does heroics actually end up doing for businesses? It burns out leaders and it burns out owners because you always have to put on the cape, right? Think of yourselves and how many times did you have to be the hero to save your business? So you can't scale on heroics. You have to scale on discipline. Okay. Now, here comes discipline in question number two that I need you guys to answer. Okay. When performance slips, do we respond with data and process or with urgency and pressure? Now, be honest. Okay. Do you miss numbers? Do missed numbers trigger root cause analysis, coaching, process improvement, or do they trigger panic, longer hours, and just get it done energy? Answer that honestly for your business because you know what's happening there. Every time you see a red KPI or something that comes off track, are you doing a deep dive of root cause analysis? Are you having one-on-one coaching? Are you looking to how you're going to improve the process so the wheels don't fall off again? Or do you go into panic mode and you put on your superhero cape and you go turn off that fire? Which one do you live in today? You know the answer to that one. And now we're going to score ourselves from 1 to 5. Okay. Do you review weekly KPIs every single week? 1 to 5. 1 if you don't do them, 3 if you do them sometimes, 5 if you do them every single week. Are standards enforced consistently? Are issues addressed early? And by early, I mean predictable. That means that you see them in advance, not issues that you're in trying to fix. Do we reward discipline or heroics? Meaning, in your last promotion, in your organization, in your last coffee or Tim Hortons gift card that you gave out to somebody, was it because they were disciplined, because they were consistent, or because they were in superhero mode? Think of that one, right? Is it a 1 or a 5? Because discipline disappears 9 times out of 10 when things get busy. And I've seen this many times, right? Think of people that want to go to the gym every single year. They start off strong in January. By February, they're done because their motivation lacked, right? That's it, right? Their motivation lacked. They didn't see results quick enough, so the want faded very quickly. Discipline is so important here, right? Because if discipline holds, especially when things are busy, that's when we score ourselves high. That's when you're going to see true turnaround in your business, true results that are scalable and sustainable. Okay. Now, we all know Jeff Bezos, and he didn't scale Amazon on hustle. He scaled it with pure discipline, weekly metrics, clear ownership, relentless review. Again, why would he do that? Because he knows very clearly that discipline creates predictability. And ultimately, predictability is what's going to allow you to scale smart. Okay? Now, we're going to get into our pillar 3. And here's the hard truth. And I know some people have grown businesses and they've had success, but growth doesn't create problems. And I know you might be thinking, what are you talking about? Every time I scaled and grew, I had a whole bunch of problems. Well, that's true, but it wasn't the growth that created the problem. The growth exposed the problems. That's what happened. It's the growth exposes weak roles, unclear ownership, conflicting priorities, and 9 times out of 10 leadership gaps. That's what happened when you grew. It wasn't that the growth created it. Those problems were there, but the growth exposed them because your organization wasn't ready for that next level growth. And most businesses try to grow through misalignment, and that's backwards. They'll say, we're going to add more revenue. More revenue will fix the problem. I've seen this, I've lived it, and that's not the case. What they forget is in the alignment, in the structure, is where this will actually help you scale and be sustainable. So, your alignment diagnostic question number three, okay? If I went to your leadership team today and I asked them to name their top three priorities, would I get the same answer? Right? If I went to your teams, Joe, Tyler, James, and I said, guys, share with me, with your leadership team, what are your 2026 priorities? Would I get the same answer? And if the alignment is real, their answers will match. And if the alignment in your team is fake, the answers will vary. And I'll tell you this, last year I sat with a really like big organization. I sat with the room, and I think I've shared this story before, but I'll share it again. Sat there with them, all these different directors of this high-tech company in Calgary. And we sat there and I said, "All right, guys, walk me through your goals for this year. What are you looking to achieve?" And every single person had different priorities. The owner sat in that room, and his eyes popped up when he realized his entire like board of directors leadership team were working on different priorities than his. He had set out at the beginning of the year their vision and what he said were goals for the company, but everybody was rowing in different directions. So this is a critical set of questions again for you to answer. Our roles, again from 1 to 5, are roles clearly defined in your business? Is the ownership on tasks obvious? Are decisions, are decision rights made clear? Are they understood who makes the decisions? And are leaders rowing in the same direction? If you consistently mediate confusion, please score yourself low. Okay? That means that if you're involved in clearing decision makings, if you are having to be involved in having to realign priorities, score yourself low. If your leaders are executing independently and consistently, please score yourself high. Okay? Now, as we go through and we find examples of who's done this well, I can tell you, Howard Schultz, he literally grew Starbucks. And he actually, at a point through the late 90s, paused Starbucks because he found that the business was misaligned. It was broken. So what did he do? He fixed culture first. Then he focused on growth because he understood that if you fix culture first, your scalability, your growth will be less painful. It will certainly allow your leadership teams and the teams around them to be aligned and be accountable for that growth in future stages. So now we see Starbucks and we know how profitable they are. We know how large they've become, and it's because Howard Schultz had that opportunity to say, "Hey guys, we're not going to scale. We're going to pause growth right now until our internal teams are aligned, our core values are aligned, our processes are aligned. Then we're going to scale. Then we're going to do more franchises." And through a few years in the early 2000s, we saw that there was a pause. There was a pause at Starbucks, and then they scaled again. And here at OBS, we are big on alignment because we understand that without this framework, you will not have clarity. We know that all of this aligns with your role fit, like who owns what, your people pulse, meaning Do you have the right people in the right seats? And your decision authority. Who makes those decisions? And scorecards. Do you have KPIs that are reviewed every single week with accountability? Because if any of these are unclear, again, your growth pain multiplies. Okay. Now, we're going to get into your pillar number 4, which is execution. Okay. Now, execution that scales is something that I have found requires a lot of ownership plus rhythm, right? If execution depends on reminders, on pressure, or escalation, it just won't scale. If you're trying to scale just pure pressure, you're going to pressure your way through growth. Again, what's going to happen is that something will break. And when something breaks, the system itself will not allow you to continue to have safe ground. The surface itself will fall underneath you. Who's lived that? Who's seen that before? Right? And
Yeah.
it's been super challenging, I'm sure. So here's diagnostic question number 4. When something breaks, does the system surface it early or does it land on your desk for you to go solve it? If you're always the last to know, your execution rhythm is broken. Just so you know that, okay? These are the questions we're going to answer now from 1 to 5. Are KPIs visible and reviewed in your organization from 1 to 5? Okay? Do leaders take action without permission? Are issues surfaced early? Again, from 1 to 5. Is follow up consistent? Execution is so critical, folks, because it requires ownership. It requires a weekly operating rhythm and it requires clear follow ups. To put it simple, a little formula that you should put somewhere in your desk or in your walls: no rhythm equals no scale. If you don't have rhythm in your KPI ownership, meaning like who knows it, who owns it, and who delivers it, a weekly operating plan and weekly operating scorecard reviews, and clear follow-up actions and accountability, you will not scale. It just will not happen. Now, our final pillar is guardrails. Growth without guardrails is like gambling. Okay? It's like driving through the Coca-Cola, without any pillars blocking you from falling off that highway. Right? Pretty scary drive without that rail guards there. Right? So smart scaling means that you have margin discipline, you have capacity awareness, and you have clear rules for growth. Now, in order for us to say, all right, well, let's diagnose the guardrails, let's understand what are we talking about. We must stay true for us to stay within our lanes for us to grow safely. That's what we're trying to say. That's what your guardrails are all about, right? So when we're talking about guardrails, we ask ourselves, what breaks if we grow 20%? That means that you're understanding your capacity in your business. If you grew 20% this year, what's the first thing that's going to give? Is it going to be your time? Is it going to be your systems? Is it going to be, your tools? What's going to break first? Is it going to be like your ability to deliver to your customer service expectations? What does that look like for your business? And what KPIs must stay green for you to scale? What are your like must not fail KPIs? What standards cannot slip? Meaning where you will not allow the bar to be lowered. That could be in service, it could be in culture, to give you some examples, right? Because if growth today is happening in your business by rule, by the ones that we've just described, then you can score yourself high. If they're not, then score yourself low. Okay? Here's some of the final questions. Okay. Again, for you to score yourself. If we have a growth, does our service drop from 1 to 5? If we grow or scale, does our process remain consistent? And if we grow, this is one's critical, do we have the leadership capacity in our building? Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you to total your scores. Okay. And we're going to come to you at the end with your scores, but I'll tell you this. If you scored in total between 20 and 25, you today are ready to scale. If you scored between 14 and 19, it's possible your business is ready to scale, but it's fragile. It'll need some work. If you're below 13, you will feel some pain when you scale unless your structure improves. Now, this isn't judgment. Okay, folks, I'm not judging. This is just leverage. This is just for you to understand where your business is at today. Because it's comfortable and it's acceptable to feel overwhelmed. We all understand that because we've all lived it, okay? And one thing I want to make sure that is clear to everybody. If you're overwhelmed, it's not because you're weak. I want to make sure you know that. It's because systems haven't caught up yet to the ambition and goals that you have for your business. Your goal isn't bigger, okay? Your goal is just stronger. It requires more systems, stronger discipline, stronger alignment, and more aligned execution because that's what smart scaling is all about. Okay. So as we go through the reviews of everybody, I want you to keep in mind a good takeaway. And as you go to implement this week, I want you to focus on one system that you'd like to review and fix, or define one growth guardrail today that your business needs to keep you there. Small moves. You don't need to make big ones. Just small enough that you understand the importance of how this is going to help you in the diagnostic that we just had, right? Think of it as a mechanic, right? You just got your mechanic report for your business and you can start taking small steps to growing your business in a very disciplined, aligned way. That's what we had for you today. Willie, we'll go to you now and see if there's anything here that you'd like to add or your thoughts around this first.
Yeah, for me, this is something that was so foreign to me 10 years ago. And then Hector came into our business and taught me all this stuff. And when he started talking, it just didn't make sense to me. And for an example, I was thinking about like the dis or the execution piece, even like talking about, is the system working for you or not. And one simple example is what we did was we created a weekly um, department meeting in each department, and it was on the same day, same time every single week. Nobody had to guess. That is a system.
Mhm.
And then it was a structured meeting where we would have a list of issues that was where people before this, for an example, is they would always come to my office. We have this issue. We need to have a meeting. And now it can went to where put it on the issue list and we'll talk about it in our next meeting coming up. And so now that was a system where people now knew where to bring the issue to. It was just adding it to the list. If it wasn't burning the business down, we said put it on the list. We'll get to the issue in the next meeting. And uh, and so that's the system. And then out of that meeting, every issue that we were going through, to-dos came out of it. And now we had a process. Every to-do got put on a list and got followed up in the next meeting. So now that's becomes a system. So all that, it made no sense in the beginning for me how a system could do so much for a company, but until I actually saw it working in my company. And so yeah, the power behind this. If anybody has questions around this, ask those because the system is the difference maker in if you want to grow a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that, Willie. Now let's go around the room. I'm curious to know what people scored. That's a wrap for today's episode of The Inner Circle. If something in today's conversation resonated, inspired you, or gave you a breakthrough, please share it with someone you care about. The right idea at the right time can change someone's business and their life. So make sure you follow the show, leave a review, and stay connected with us because this community is built on relationships, real support, and real growth together. Remember that clarity means nothing without action. So choose one insight from today, put it into motion this week, and notice the shift. Thank you for being part of this journey, for showing up for your growth, and for being part of the Inner Circle community. See you in the next episode, and let's keep growing together.